Welcome, Crusader fans, to another edition of the Valpo Coaches Show. Joining me this week, men's soccer head coach Mike Avery. Mike, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Aaron.
Been an interesting stretch for you guys, kind of a interesting season if you look at it. You had a stretch of games earlier in the year. You tied the school record for longest winning streak, set a record for longest unbeaten streak, and now you're kind of in the opposite situation in the last few games. You've gotten 3 ties in the last 5, including a couple very impressive ones, but you haven't been able to find a win in the last 5 games. Can you just talk a little bit about, as a coaching staff, how you work with the team to get through a stretch like that, especially after having the success you did earlier in the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds a little bit like I need to work with you on it too, because it's all about perspective, right? It's funny. I talked to the team just this morning about it. If you use a team like Detroit, for example, who's in our league, right? Right before we played them, the first round of the league play, they had 3 wins coming into that weekend that we played them. Then they tied 6 games in a row. So they're 9 games unbeaten. That would also probably be their longest unbeaten streak. They lose 1 game at the end of that, and all of a sudden they're on a 7-game winless streak, right? So is it possible to go from a 9-game unbeaten streak to a 7-game winless streak all in one day? It's not possible. And again, our sport's not dictated by stats and streaks and runs. We do a statistical analysis of every game that we play, especially in our league. We had a recent game on the road in the league where we had over 70% of the possession. We had 85% of the chances that were created in the game. Their goalkeeper makes a couple of great saves. The game ends 0-0. Are we supposed to feel bad about that result? And that's the idea, is that we control our perspective. We control our, how we're going to view what's happening to us or what's not happening to us and how the season's going. We've had a really tough stretch of games, not necessarily in terms of the results, but just in terms of, we've been on the road for, what have we played, 11 out of 14 games on the road. We had a 3-game and 6-day stretch where we traveled over 4,000 miles. We played 2 ranked opponents, and that's not scheduling that we did on purpose. I mean, that was a gift from the league office to us when they added a team in and just threw them into our bye week. And it's okay, because we're excited to play, and we're an ambitious program, and we want to go out and play teams like New Mexico, and we want to play teams like Michigan. That was a great bye week. You throw a Northern Kentucky into the middle of that, and it complicates things. But what are we going to do? We can't drop games. We'd already bought flights. We'd already signed contracts. We've got to play the schedule that's handed to us. And I thought they've handled it all really well. The guys have really been good about just taking it one day at a time and keep playing and keep playing and keep playing. In our sport, you can win a game, or you can lose a game, or you can tie a game, and that's unusual for a lot of sports. The 2 of the 3 options have to be bad, right? And so, sometimes a draw why is a draw okay at New Mexico, but it's not okay at home against Belmont, right? And again, it's just a perspective. I'm more concerned with our performance. Is there consistency in our performance? And the results are going to bear themselves out over time. So I think the team's doing great. I think we get a little bit banged up. You get a little bit of tax on you from the travel that you do. You're in different time zones and you're sleeping in different beds. But it is also easier in some ways to control the environment when you're on the road. I mean, we know when they go to bed. We know when they wake up. We know what they do when they wake up. We know when they eat. All of that stuff we have control. We don't have all that control here as much as we like to be at home. So again, it's just it's an exercise in our perspective. We choose to focus on what we choose to focus on. We have to ignore the noise that goes on around us on the outside. You win, accolades come and rankings come. It's great, but it's noise. It doesn't matter. If you don't win, then you get questions like that, and that's just noise, and it doesn't matter. All we're doing is focusing on the next game, and that's the most important. We have a great opportunity tomorrow night against a good team. We're excited for the game.
Yeah. You mentioned the stretch of games on the road, obviously, and getting into that rhythm on the road. Is it tough with so few home games? You come back home, and then you have a home game, and it's over fall break, so you're not even your normal home rhythm. Is it kind of tough to get back into that rhythm at home when you're so used to, having that, for lack of a better word, control on the road?
It might be, but that would be an excuse that we wouldn't really have. Again, we can't control that stuff. We do get a home game. We're excited about it. It does fall on fall break, which isn't ideal. The campus is dead, and there's nothing going on around here, and there's a lot of downtime for the players. And that's not really an ideal thing. You want them engaged, and I'd like for them to get back into a class routine and a normal practice routine. And we'll have that opportunity over the next few weeks here. But again, we can't control it, so we're not going to worry about it. As much as we like to play at home, we have challenges here. We have 3 teams that share one facility. We don't always get the practice time that we want. We don't always get the lifting time that we want. And we can't use those as reasons why we either do well or not do well. They are what they are, and we just have to deal with it. And every school I've ever been at in my career, and it's been a long career, and I've been at a lot of schools, they all have challenges. It's not unique to Valpo. So we just got to do what we can.
You mentioned that UIC game home Wednesday evening here at Brown Field. Then you go on the road Saturday to Oakland, and you look at the league table right now, and it's interesting for as late in the year as we are, the kind of difference in amount of games teams have played in league play. There's a couple teams ahead of you, but who only have 1 game left. We have 3 games left. A couple teams with 2 games left, and so you're kind of in a weird spot where, well, you're only 1 point out of being outside the tournament, but yet you have these games in hand on teams ahead of you. Do you like being able to go into the team and say, hey, we get 3 points, we're going to pass these 2 teams that aren't playing today? Or, is it kind of putting more pressure on you to get those results, knowing that some teams, are already on so many points ahead of you?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, my staff will spend a lot more time looking at the table and the standings than I will. I'm more concerned with the game tomorrow night. And we know this, that if we win all of our games, we might finish first, we might finish second, get a bye, we might finish third and host a game. All that stuff is still possible, from winning the whole thing to finishing third. We drop games, we might not be in the tournament. All of that stuff is still possible for us, and that's not a surprise. I told you guys at the very start of the year, this is the most competitive league that we've ever had, and that's bearing itself out. You've got a team that didn't qualify for the tournament last year that's leading the table right now. You've got teams that won it last year that are fighting to get in on the other end of it. You have preseason picks, you could just turn that poll upside down right now. And none of that stuff really matters. It's just the games that come. And like I said, we have an opportunity against a good UIC team to play at home and to see what happens with the game. If it doesn't go our way, it's not dire yet because we still have 2 games to play, so maybe that does relieve pressure. But I honestly don't look at it in those terms. I just want to play a good performance against a good team and see what happens.
And switching gears a little now, kind of more off the field, obviously your One Valpo campaign for this men's soccer program was kind of a big thing that started last year, and there was really a lot of emphasis on it at the games, and maybe not so much this year. But I think it's important to update fans on kind of what's been going on with it, because there still is a lot going on with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just not as visible on the field at the game. So could you give us a little update on what you've been doing with it?
Yeah, we've now moved from, not exclusively, but the first year the focus was spreading it around our campus, and then at the same time giving our opponents an opportunity to join us. We've had schools around the country that have created their own campaign very similar to ours, and so it's been great to see that take off and see it go in different directions from other universities. Because we've already done it with our opponents, we haven't done it this year with our opponents, and our focus now is to move it off of campus and more into the community of Valparaiso. And so there's been a lot of work that's mostly work behind the scenes at this point because of our travel schedule and because of our demands during the season. But we have got set up in the next semester 4 or 5 school assemblies and local in the schools here in the community. We've got businesses that we're going into that we're ready to sign on with. And our hope is that you'll see it now as a presence in town as much as you see it as a presence on campus, and see how it grows from there. So a lot of it is behind the scenes work, but it's certainly still going.
Thank you for that. As I said, the team plays tomorrow night, Brown Field against UIC, Big Horizon League match, and then Saturday at Oakland. Both of those matches available on ESPN3. Coach Avery, thanks for being with us. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you, sir.
For all your men's soccer news, follow the Crusaders at VUMSO on Twitter, Valpo Men's Soccer on Facebook, and all your athletics news, Valpo Athletics on both Twitter and Facebook. Until next time, I'm Aaron Levitt. Go Crusaders.